evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're convening the regular meeting of the July 18th Urban Renewal Commission. Would you poll the board, please, Kelly?
Commissioner Neely?
Here.
Commissioner Pauley?
Here.
Commissioner Roth?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Yates?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson?
Here.
Commissioner Mumm?
Here.
Vice Chair Edgar? And Chair Shaw.
Here. Thank you. All right, this is a point in the meeting where we invite citizen comments. And anybody would like to step forward here to talk about something that's not already on the agenda this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on. Adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt.
Myself, I would like to talk a little bit about the railroad station and train station a little bit for a little discussion.
And
Anybody else?
like a future agenda item, is that what you're...
Well, I just wanted, we kind of voted on doing some demolition work, and I didn't know if that had been done, or I wanted to know if we could catch it before then, maybe revisit that a little bit. So
Can talk about that under my reports, if you're all right.
it's under your reports. Okay,
If
great.
you'd like, yeah.
Good. Okay, anybody else? All right. We are moving to, we have to jump the agenda, are we okay there?
Yeah.
Okay. General business, report on the adaptive reuse application. This would be Mr. Eric Underwood, please.
Chairman, at the last Urban Renewal Commission meeting, it was requested that we bring back the item of... Yes. At the last Urban Renewal Commission, it was requested that we bring back the item of staff review for the adaptive reuse rehab program. So in an effort to do that, I've developed a report kind of giving us an overview of the inaugural review process and how that went. That includes some lessons learned, some things that will be needed in the future, and some revisions that should be made for the next round. All right.
You don't have it. What have we got
We
on here?
We got
Oh,
him.
yeah, okay.
We got an out of range statement, but we can see most of it.
Okay. So, beginning of the process, this is just a kind of general process overview. The way we began, once we got, well, actually before applications were submitted, we had pre-submittal conferences with the potential applicants to discuss their projects, to see if it needed to go to a land use process, if building permits were required, and so forth. And then once we had that, they could have as many as they wanted. I think there was one applicant that had 2 meetings, and once they were comfortable, they would submit their application. And so they would submit those to me at the development department, and I would get together the committee, the review committee, which included building, planning, operations, and myself. And we gave it a completeness review. Actually, let me step back. I gave it a completeness review first before I actually brought it to the committee for review. So I made sure that they had everything that the criteria requested. If they didn't, I would contact them to ask them to submit it. Once the applications were complete, then that's when we would put together the committee. I would give it to the committee. I gave them 2 weeks to review the applications. And then we had the application evaluation meeting, which we discussed all of our comments according to the criteria for the applications. So that meeting was a couple of hours long. We got out, I think, all the issues. We addressed all the issues, the major concerns, and decided on awards at that time. At which time, immediately following, within a day, I was able to contact the applicants and communicate with them the results of their application and the reasons why they were or were not approved. And then once that communication was done, we sent out a letter of award to the applicants.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yes.
How many applicants were there?
There were 2 the first round.
How did they learn about the program? What kind of marketing was there? How many building owners knew about it?
Well, it was put on the website. There was a press release that was sent out once the Urban Renewal Commission approved the criteria, and we sent out a press release there, word of mouth. I would talk with the businesses, tell them about the program. So would Lloyd. Lloyd was doing that as well. So it was on our website. It was in the press release. So that's all we basically had to do, and there was a lot of interest. We had 2 applicants. Actually, we had 3. One wasn't ready, so we sent it back. And he had ultimately decided to submit again for this next round, which he's done. So we had 2 applications, and we approved 1. We denied 1. And going through the process, we realized there were some gaps or some areas that we thought needed clarification in the criteria. One was the increased usable space or the footprint of the building, which is stated in the criteria. There was a question as to how much. I mean, what's acceptable? Are we looking for one additional office space, or are we looking for several? We realized that there probably needs to be, or we were wondering what the value metric was. So if we're increasing the value, how does that relate to existing tenants? How much value do they need to propose as opposed to a new tenant space being created? Because there are different valuations there. Of course, a building that's not being used, that doesn't have any tenants, if you create one office space, that's definitely going to increase the value of that building as opposed to someone who's already in there. So how do you compare those? Development experience was kind of a gray area for us, I guess. We weren't sure how to measure that. So if that's something that whether or not the commission decides to review the applications or staff continues to do so, that's something I think that needs to be addressed, and we need to clarify. What level of experience are we talking about? And who are we talking, who needs the development experience, the applicant or the contractor? So that's not clear in the criteria. The application window. So we were getting them first come, first served basis, not knowing how many were going to come in, and just picking a review time. So we were thinking, should we ask for applications quarterly if funding's still available, or should we just keep it on a rolling basis? I think the reason we got 3 applications in this last time is folks were just kind of waiting in the wings, waiting for the criteria to be approved, and we got a bunch at once. That's actually happened this time. We've got 3 applications for this round. So I think the rolling method would probably work better if there was low interest, if we were getting smaller projects, that sort of thing. But as popular as it is now, we're thinking maybe quarterly might work best, where we give them a time to submit. And then we realized as going through it, we're like, well, what really is the intent of this grant? I mean, what are we looking for out of this grant? We had a pretty thorough discussion on that. And that still needs some clarification, and it's still going to be part of the learning process as we go through. But right now we're operating on the assumption that we're looking for a mixed-use component, something that diversifies downtown. And so that's how we're looking at these applications right now.
Mixed as in residential?
Could include residential. It could be office and commercial. It could be various combinations of that. It could be it could be all residential, given the environment downtown now, which is no residential. I mean, that's a mixed use overall. That's adding a mixed-use component, not necessarily in the same building, but where they would have retail and commercial. But
Is it clear to the applicants that, I mean, I can understand you would want to consider the whole downtown area as mixed use. Is it clear to the applicants when they make the application that, in fact, it applies to the whole area and they may deal with only one or two of those components and still fit? Or is it, do they have that kind of
I
awareness?
don't think so. No, it's not clear in the criteria right now. So. We've identified some future needs as we move forward in the process. One is material description and renderings to give us more of an idea of what renovations are going to be made, what it's going to look like, to give us more of a visual. And I have samples on there, even if they want to submit the actual material, so we can look and feel and see how it's going to be incorporated into the design and construction. I think that it's important to determine a minimum value for a project. Looking at the criteria, it says one or two medium-sized project. Well, what's a medium-sized project? So that's not really defined, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed. Again, minimum percentage of increased usable space. What is that metric, that threshold? What kind of value are we looking for? A requirement of a detailed pro forma, not just, okay, here's what it's worth now, here's what it's going to be worth 5 years. We want to have it broken down. Given as how these applications are very competitive, this program is very competitive, we'd like to see that pro forma in more detail with a timeline. Bonus points for leveraging other funds. I think that if they're securing other funds to construct a larger project, a more valuable project, I think that says something, and that should probably be rewarded. The committee, majority of the committee felt that way. And then a site walkthrough before construction, and have the applicant describe to us a first-hand view as to what they plan to do. And then a project closeout criteria, just to ensure that they've met our criteria, that they've constructed the way their plans indicate, the way their application is indicated. And then a business license from the applicant. So if they're going to be working, it's our code that if they're going to be working in Oregon City, that they need a business license, and that right now is not a requirement for the application.
Eric, if I remember correctly, there's not a lot of these adaptive reuse programs to look at in various cities, or
There aren't. Salem is one that has. They have grants and loans that focus on an interior rehabilitation. That's really the only one that I know of.
are you able to get anything from there? How long has theirs been in effect? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I know it's been at least a decade, but I'm not sure the exact time that it's been around.
Okay.
But I do. I've talked with them, and I will continue as we move forward. I will continue to talk with them to see how their experience is going, see if they have any tips, suggestions on how to refine. So. Some refinements that would help, I think, moving forward would be developing some sort of mission statement, just so the applicant gets the idea of what the intent of the grant is, what the commission is looking for out of these projects. And I think it would work better with an application acceptance window, where we kind of announce that we're open for applications to be submitted. We give the applicants, say, 30, 60 days to submit their applications, get all their ducks in a row, and submit. We're using the bonus table now, but we were thinking as a committee that it might be helpful to the applicant if we include that in the application packet, so they can try to meet those bonus areas, and they'll complete it, and we'll review it according to the criteria and according to their application. Excuse me. and then a building department sign-off upon completion of the project. So, again, just ensuring that they've met the requirements of the building permit as well as what they had stated in their application. And then at least we would like to clarify or state in the criteria that staff has at least 30 days to review, or the commission, however the commission wants to work it if they want to bring it back to the commission. But have something in there giving the applicant an idea of a review period. That's the goal there. So this is kind of an example of how we reviewed the first two applications that came in. The one that was denied didn't meet the scoring threshold, the basic scoring that we have set up. Didn't submit any architectural renderings or drawings, so we couldn't get any type of visual as to what they were planning. There was no material to look at. We just didn't know what kind of material they were using. They would describe it as metal or wood or something, but that's as far as it went. Did not address any mixed use as part of that project. And it was unclear as to why the space is not already tenable. Because there was office space existing, it just didn't look nice. And we felt it didn't increase the usable space at all. Because, again, the offices, the layout was already there. And they're not adding any offices or any common areas or anything like that. And they lack the innovative design component. There's a piece in the bonus round that looks for LED construction, lead construction, and we're looking for that innovative. It always helps an application for an innovative design, and I'll kind of address that in this next one that was approved. The one that was approved actually increased the tenable space and had a job creation component associated with it. It added considerable value to the building, one being the creation of the space as well as the jobs that they were going to be providing. It had an innovative design component, whereas they were reclaiming the wood and that was existing and making it into furniture. It's kind of neat. They were exposing the brick, the old original brick, so that was favorable. And then there was a significant owner investment.
I'll ask a question about that previous slide.
Yeah.
Increases tenable space. What was that space used for before, and how do you define increase in tenable space?
Well, the way we were looking at it, it wasn't being used for anything for well over 2 years, as far as I know. It could be longer than that.
Was it condemned? I mean, they're just unrented.
It was unrented. There was nothing up there. It was like a storage space, like an attic. That's all it was. What they've done is, they're coming up to build office space, common meeting space. They're building a kitchenette, so where they can have several tenants up there. So they're providing jobs, and so those jobs will go up there. Whereas before, they couldn't have those jobs up there in the attic space.
Was there a change of use of any kind?
No.
So it was office space before, it was a B occupancy before, it's a B occupancy now, basically.
Yeah.
So it was not rentable as office space? There was no...
There was nothing up there. It could have been rented as office space.
It was rented as office space.
It was?
Yeah, I mean there was offices in there.
Yeah, I don't
Not too long
get
ago.
this, unless you change...
I don't know if it was. I think 2 years is not accurate. I think there was tenants in there a year ago. Because I know some of them. I'll find out, but I know there was offices up there being used. I don't know to what degree. I don't think it was a lot, but I know there was some.
So that maybe asks the question about when these applications come to you, Eric, are we made aware of that? Because maybe there's something that we know about this application that might benefit your...
Right. No, you weren't made aware of it this round.
Okay, but I'm just thinking for
So we went
future.
by, and I will admit I don't have the history of the building, but we went by the application that was submitted with the pictures of the space. And so that's one of the requirements, and the pictures showed a blank slate.
So part of the review is not to have staff go look at it.
That's what we're proposing with these refinements, is site visit. So I think the original thinking was we could take care of a lot of that through the pre-submittal conferences, but it looks like sometimes not all the information is disclosed at those conferences, so a site visit would help, and that was our thinking.
Well, also maybe, like I was saying, I don't know whether you want to just advise us that this project has been applied for.
Right.
So maybe we may know something that you want to know.
We can start that tonight if you'd like. We've got 3 really good applications in. So the last slide here is just some of the benefits that we came up with as a committee for staff review. We think it provides increased efficiency in the process, makes it a little less daunting for the applicant, provides flexibility in scheduling for both us and the applicant. And the composition of the review committee, it includes technical experts, so we're able to look at the technical aspects of the application really closely. And we felt it displays a trust in staff to do the job that they were hired to do.
In terms of the composition of the review committee, when you're talking about technical expertise, is it strictly within in-house in the city, or are you seeking out others?
It's in-house.
Okay.
It's in-house. And that's it. I'm open for other questions if you have.
Commissioner Roth.
Something that I'm interested in seeing happen is that once somebody applies and is granted, they're taken out of the cycle for so many cycles. So that
That's a good
not
idea.
everything is going to Dr. John McLaughlin's pub or whatever, you know.
Right.
I think there needs to be a lag time in there that people can reapply, because I'm hearing people say the money's already promised to somebody else, or it's going to go to this guy because he's got it all together. I think we need to take that out of the picture.
Okay. Yeah, spreading it evenly.
So if you get a grant, you're out for a year, whatever.
That sounds reasonable.
2 or 3 years,
Yeah,
I would
whatever.
say.
Yeah.
3 years would be good.
What are the bonuses that you were referring to in the bonus round?
We have
Bonus round.
Yeah. Let's make a deal.
we have a Toyota Prius and $10,000. So of course we have our basic criteria that they have to meet, and then we thought the bonus points would be good to make it more competitive. One is dealing with the private match. So if they have a 1-to-2 private match as opposed to the required 1-to-1, then that makes their application more competitive. If they're investing more money into that project, and it goes up to 1-to-4 or greater than 1-to-4. So they get a total of 8 points for any bonus item.
So it just goes into the overall ranking.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah.
overall
So
points.
we've got addition of residential units as a bonus item. LEED certification, whether they're certified silver, gold, or platinum LEED. Development experience, again, we need to define what is meant by that, because is that the applicant or is that the developer, and then how do you measure developer experience? So, and then job creation, of course, is a major bonus piece. And then adds value to the property according to the return on investment or capital rate or pro forma.
But that is considered after all the base requirements are met.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so we thought it would be good for this next round to incorporate this and have the applicant fill it out as to how they think they're meeting these bonus, and then we'll compare that to their application. Comes in.
How much money is there in this program, Eric?
There is $150,000 for the whole year. this program.
And do you have any estimate as how much time you or other members of our staff have put into dealing with this in terms of designing the program, administering the program, dealing with these applications, going through these pre-apps? How efficient is this in terms of how much money we're spending? Because it seems to me we're going through an awful lot of thinking and review for relatively small amounts of money. These are not giant grants. And as a property owner and a remodeler myself, these decisions are, economic decisions people make to improve their buildings. Sometimes they'll make those with or without these grants. And I'm really concerned about the efficiency and doing things that would get done anyway. There's an awful lot of development going on inside buildings in this town that's not being subsidized. And I really think it's important that we choose our subsidies very, very carefully. But at the same time, I don't think it makes sense to spin our wheels in terms of fairness and everything when it's the bang for the buck is so low.
Well, I think in the initial stages when we're setting this up, and we've only got through one round, I think it's going to take a couple actually before we get it down, get it seamless. So at the beginning, at the head end, it's going to take a little more time, and it has. It's a learning experience for both sides, and so.
But I guess the question is, what's the benefit to the city of spending our money this way, as opposed to spending our money in a different way that might still generate jobs, might still generate positive things for the community, that doesn't pick winners and losers quite the same way we do, and doesn't waste an awful lot of staff time for a relatively small amount of money. I'm not sure this is the most efficient way for us to spend our time as a city. It just seems very time-consuming. The whole thing seems very time-consuming.
Yeah, I mean, it has been somewhat time-consuming at the beginning, but I don't spend all my time on it, and neither does the members of the committee. I have a lot of things on my plate, and this is like one of the smaller things. Working with the rest of the staff, I mean, we've been able to get it through this first round pretty smoothly, and I think it'll begin to get smoother as it goes forward. As far as other ways to use money that creates value downtown and jobs, I'm sure there are other ways. I haven't had, a lot of time to think about other programs other than these grants right now because I've been a little busy with the grants. But I will say that this is kind of unique in an urban renewal district in a smaller city, and it's very popular. It's getting a lot of things going downtown or in the urban renewal district because there are other businesses that I talk to that are interested in coming to Oregon City possibly, and they've heard about these programs and they ask me about them. If I were to locate in this building, would I still qualify for the adaptive reuse grant? They've seen it on our website. They've seen the press release. Could I take advantage of the storefront grant? And so, I do that research and say yay or nay, but they know about it and they're interested in it. So I think it creates value downtown. It shows that something is happening because it's accessible for the businesses. That gets out. That's marketing for us. That turns out to be a really good marketing tool, and it has been. If you notice the article that was in the Business Journal, Portland Business Journal, about a month ago, talking about these programs and the benefits for the smaller business. That's pretty astounding. I haven't seen other communities on the front page of the Portland Business Journal lately, small cities like this with these kind of programs. That says a lot for this program, and I think it's worthwhile. I really do.
Commissioner Neely.
It's not comparable, but I would just simply comment, we allocate not even $150,000 to several grant programs out of the Metro Enhancement Fund, out of the Oregon City Improvement Trust.
Those are for nonprofits, though.
I understand that, but the point is we go through an evaluation process, and as we do so, it isn't really that great of a time commitment, but it's been set up for some time so that we've gone through a lot of trial and errors on these. Nonprofit is not the issue there. The question is, does it take that much time? And actually, I imagine once you get the criteria set up and the evaluation process, it isn't going to take you much time.
No, it shouldn't. So we'll have a routine, and it'll the applicants will be aware of it. Staff will know what to do. We'll have a lot of these things that I presented tonight ironed out, have the refinements made, and our goal is to make it just a seamless process.
So we'll be revisiting this probably at the end of the year and just see how it went, and and just see how time-consuming it was, and
Will we see any of the, like we've asked for this one change for people not reapplying, will we see that before you go into your next round?
So what? Maybe.
It's landed. Oh my God.
If we're not invaded first, yes. What I plan to do, if the commission decides to leave it in staff's hands for now, I was planning on organizing a committee meeting to go over these refinements and needs and try to incorporate them, and that's one that I will submit to the committee.
Eric,
and try
if
to
I might,
include.
I want to also offer up, Eric and I haven't talked about this, but I think what would be appropriate for us to do is to bring back to them a criteria that are, once they're refined, bring them back, share them far and wide so that everybody knows. I think this idea of making sure that the same applicant isn't a multiple year consecutive winner. Regardless of how good the project is, we need some equity to make sure people have equal access to this. And I think that's probably the best idea I've heard. And there's lots of good ideas, but that is one that I think is really important, and I think we should commit to that.
I agree.
And I don't know whether it's, the second year you can't do it at all, and then you get, some points or something. But if you've never gotten one of these and it's your first try and you get a good application, that should definitely trump the application of somebody who's gotten 1, 2, or 3 years before.
Bonus points.
So
Bonus points.
we can work that out, but I want to make sure those criteria come back to all of you. And once they're established, we're going to want those out there
Yeah.
because the more of that information gets out there, the more streamlined our application process will be and the more efficient, frankly, it'll be. So that's something I think we should commit to doing.
have Commissioner Smith.
Well, I think the main reason we had this as a topic tonight hasn't even been talked about, which was whether or not we were okay with just the staff process and if it was ever going to come to us as a commission. And I don't really feel that this commission needs to go through that whole review process, but I do think it needs to come to us before an award is given, even if it's just to look at it. I don't know. We've had some discussions about the legalities of us making a decision on things like that, but I could also see the same argument the other way too. I mean, we're responsible for the urban renewal budget and making those decisions, and so if we don't even get to look at them, if we've made poor decisions in the city with urban renewal in the past, and if citizens get aggravated about the way we're spending that money, they're going to come after us. They're going to be we're the ones responsible for it. So, if we don't even see it, we have no idea how to react to that, and so I think I don't feel that we need to be reviewing them like we do the Metro
Right.
Enhancement Grants, but we
Right.
sure as heck need to be able to put our stamp on it at the end.
Well, and give input if we have any.
Yeah, just counsel.
I don't know that we need to look at, I imagine a packet would be pretty thick. I would
Yeah, the packet
imagine.
would be pretty thick. Right now, one of the applications I have is a trifold presentation board. I've got a bag with a brick in it.
I'm thinking we don't,
With all the building material.
really does have that.
Yeah.
but there's like an application they have to fill out.
Yes.
So maybe you could send that and not
Okay.
all the I don't know.
Or somebody mentioned just introducing the projects as they come in. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
I could, like, they come in, I can put together like a presentation tonight, just
Yeah.
showing the project and
Perfect.
any renderings that they
just-
have there.
just
Yep.
for information.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I wouldn't go into a huge amount of depth because we can ask if we want more information.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
So just saying, these are the projects that have been submitted for. This is what they intend to do, and this is maybe a little picture of what it's going to
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, my question would be, do you guys want to try that for a while and see if you're comfortable with, so this is a periodic reporting, Eric, based on the number of applications that come in, but it's not necessarily picking one, the commission picking
Right.
one. You're
Right.
still okay with the staff
Right.
using that
Right.
discretion as long as you
Absolutely.
have information about it. And then we can see how this goes for the first year, and it's probably going to be a good idea for a long time just to do that. If nothing else, I think we would want to do that regardless of the amount of discretion the commission was comfortable affording the staff. I think we would want at a minimum to continue to do that. And then if that weren't enough, then we can look back and see if there's some sort of consent requirement or something, that some other layer that the commission would like to apply. But
Right.
I think that's a good plan for now.
We know it's in good hands, Eric, and but we'd just like to assist you with that a little bit.
Thanks.
Okay.
I love that.
Eric, before you leave, can I? Oh, you've got
Mr. O'Brien, would you like to step forward here, please?
I would. Ask some questions of Eric. I'm one of those concerned people that Commissioner Smith, referred to. And in listening to the dialogue tonight, and I realize I have not been up to speed on this the way the commission has, but I do have some questions. Number one, what is the source of the funding for the $150,000?
It's urban renewal
Renewal.
funds.
Urban Renewal District funds.
Right.
Okay. Commissioner Yates triggered some thoughts in my mind relative to the bang for the buck in one case, and in another case, the way in which we are notifying those people within the Urban Renewal District. If I'm not mistaken, Commissioner Yates, you're within the district, are you not?
I am, but I'm not in the downtown area. I don't know if we qualify up here on.
It's part of the downtown urban renewal district, and obviously you had not been aware of
No.
what was going on. So that concerns me a bit. I know that Eric did the best he could, particularly first time out, in trying to get the word out about the program. What I would like to see in the future, if we are going to be spending money, which in essence is coming out of taxpayers' dollars, out of their pockets, I think that even though it may cost a little bit more, we need to notify both the tenants and the owners of the properties, all of the properties within the Urban Renewal District. Now, I know that Lloyd Purdy has some excellent relationships with some of the people in the district. However, I do not believe, from what I hear out in the community, that he is communicating effectively with all people within the district. That bothers me. It goes back to the days of which we've been accused many times here in Oregon City of that good old boy network, and a lot of things going on back door, behind the scenes. I think we've turned the corner. I think with our current City Commission and our current Urban Renewal Commission, we have some integrity. I don't want to see us having mud slung at us because there is a feeling on anyone's part that things are going on behind closed doors. I believe that the point that Eric brought up of lack of innovative design concept is a very subjective thing. I do not understand how you can award points or take away points on an application based on something as subjective as that. I really do not feel that it should be part of the process. follow up on the earlier comment about Commissioner Yates. The time, the effort, the money that's being put into this on the part of staff's time. Yes, it's innovative. It's a neat approach. But I think we would do far better to take that $150,000 a year and get a few paintbrushes going in this town. We have within that urban renewal district, the entire district, a lot of dilapidated, unsightly, uninviting businesses, which are having as much impact on the community as anything we've got going on here. This is also residential properties that fall within the district, particularly up here in the McGoffin neighborhood. Paint is a wonderful thing when used appropriately. And I think we would be far better spending some time and money to help the Elks, help people who really have let their properties go, to acquire some paint and some expertise in helping paint, even if it's a volunteer situation. The other thing I would like to see done, we've spent millions of dollars along the 7th Street corridor, putting in artwork, improving the infrastructure, putting in very nice benches, planter boxes. Yet we continue to allow signage, which is some of the most demeaning, detracting, ugliest turnoffs to prospective investors in this city. And I grant you, we're just starting the budget cycle where we're going to be putting some emphasis on that. But why are we spending money in downtown core only, and yet at the same time we're still allowing unsightly signage down there, which is totally distracting from everything we're attempting to do? Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Can I?
Sure,
just respond
Eric.
to that? Yes. First of all, my focus is not solely on downtown. So Lloyd's is, and he's a messenger for those guys, so he will go out and talk with them and let them know about the programs. I do what I can do as far as getting the word out, and that was on the front page of the website for months. And we also sent out a press release, which that was my intent to cover the entire urban renewal district. And I've always emphasized that these programs are for the urban renewal district, not downtown, not just downtown. So I've always operated in that regard. Second, we do have a storefront improvement grant where we spend money on paint and things of that nature for dilapidated buildings, not just downtown, but it's available for the entire urban renewal district. So as far as getting messages or flyers to or mailers to everyone in the urban renewal district, we currently don't have the budget to do that in our urban renewal funds, and that might be something that the commission wants to consider at a later date, but right now I don't have the resources to do that. So.
Okay.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yes.
Number one, has the Elks contacted you?
The Elks? No.
Because they keep contacting me, and I tell them to get to you.
I haven't heard from them yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Second is, I just wanted to let you know that the tour that you led, was it last week? That was excellent. I really, except you didn't control the weather very well.
Sorry.
I heard the same.
You know, you talk to those weathermen, you never know what you're going to
But
get.
it was very, very good. I just heard so many, people have come back to buy hats, and, it was really good.
It's good to hear.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the application review, reuse? All right, we're going to move on to 4B, Environmental Assessment Update for 10th and Main. Eric Underwood, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just another step in our Phase 1 environmental assessment that we have been conducting for 10th and Main Street property as well as the 12th and Main. There is concern out of the first round of the environmental study that there might be some contamination in the groundwater. Basically, it would be what's called a geoprobe, where the project SLR architects would go in with the geoprobe and take soil samples and see if any of the contamination has been released into the groundwater. Main area of concern is where the pump islands were, the last gas station. I think the last samples that were taken there weren't really around that area. But it would just be providing assurances to us and to any potential developer coming in that, it would give us the information whether or not the contamination was in the groundwater and how they need to approach that. So I guess if it was, the commission would need to decide whether or not they want to go ahead and mitigate that, or if we wanted to just have it as informational for a potential developer when they come on board to let them know that would be part of the project. At the same time, they could do a similar test on 12th and Main, since they would already be out at 10th and Main. There is a reported oil tank, heating oil tank. I forget the acronym they use, but it's not a real concern. It's not a DEQ issue, but it would just provide, again, us assurances that there's no contamination on that site. That site's come back clean, and that's a minimal fee. I think for the
$500.
yeah, or $500 for that. But for the geoprobe on 10th and Main, it's a little over $10,000. So I'm just bringing this to the commission tonight to see if they wanted to move forward in doing that, or it's not something that we're required to do with this environmental assessment, but it does play a part in facilitating development on that site.
So the question is, should we be proactive or react when we get somebody that's interested in the property?
So if you think about a developer coming in saying, yes, I want to buy 10th and Main and put X project on here, is there any contamination? I know it's contaminated. Is there any contamination in the groundwater? We could either say, we don't know, or we could say, yes, and this is what you need to do. Right. Or we could say there was, and the commission mitigated it.
One factor to consider, too, is even if we're in the position of saying we don't know, we're still liable, because we're in the chain of title. The other thing that might be helpful, particularly to Eric, but also to the commission, is depending on what's there and the concentration of it, as many of you already know, it dictates to some extent what can be done on the site, whether it can be capped with a parking lot, for example, or can you have a business in there, or can you have residential? That's the highest standard. And it'd be kind of nice to know when you're marketing these things to people that you can tell them what the liabilities are, what can be done and what can't be, because they don't want to spend money on the possibilities if they don't have that information.
And there could be very well potential that could be in the groundwater, given the fact that the groundwater ranges from 3 to 5 feet underground on that site. Or, I'm sorry, 15 feet. 3 to 15 feet on that site.
Surprised there even is groundwater.
I got Commissioner Roth here first.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Eric, my question about, I've been looking at that lot a lot.
Good one.
And no, but even if we do find that it's buildable, it's such a small piece of property. Do we have anything going in the marketing that's suggesting uses for that piece of property?
Well, we have one interest that's suggesting a use. It wouldn't be what I would term a vertical development. It wouldn't be an office space or retail space. It would be some other type of use.
Not a coffee company.
No, a bar, coffee company.
We had that use presented to us already.
Oh,
yeah.
But it is a very restrained, or I guess constrained site, because if something does develop, you're going to lose an access, and that's going to be the access next to the railroad tracks.
right.
So that leaves the access off of Main Street, and there's not much room there. So we talk about building a building and putting parking. It's going to be tough. So I've had developers look at it, and they've told me the same thing. That's going to be a really hard site. But you never know. You could have some really innovative developer come along and think of some grand scheme and be able to do that. Right now, it's hard to do something like that and make it pencil in that area, given the lease rates and the rent rates downtown. So that I would classify that lot as more of a long-term development as opposed to 12th and Main, which could get developed a lot faster.
Or else we make First City Cycles a sweet deal.
Could do it. Could do it.
All right. Mr. Yates was Carol's next, actually. Okay, Carol. I was going to help you out there, Phil. Go ahead.
In the inquiries that you've had on the property, has anything led you to believe that it would, enhance the marketing to do the sample of the groundwater? Has that been requested by people?
No, it has not been requested.
Okay.
Mr. Yates.
Graham can probably speak to this at least as well as I can, but my experience in buying property, you wait until there's an offer before you do these environmental tests. We may never get an offer for this. We'd be spending this money and get an offer 5 years from now. We have lost the value of that money for 5 years. We can always do the test later. Frequently, what happens, by the way, in these environmental things is over time, the rain washes it away. So if you do the test 5 years later, you might get a better result than you get now. I see no reason to do the investment today. Let's wait until we get an offer. If we get an offer, if they're smart, they'll make a request that we do something, a test for it, and make the condition that we fix whatever's there, but they may not. And to your point, David, we may be liable, but we're going to be liable anyway. So if somebody's willing to buy it from us without...
Yeah, I was just putting it out there for
So I
information,
would
not
just,
advocating
I would just
for.
suggest the normal course
or
when you're
against.
selling something is you wait until you get a buyer to tell you what to do before they'll sell it, and then if it's not enough of an offer, you don't bother to do it then either. So I would just say, no, let's not do it yet.
Well, we don't know. It may be a parking lot, Phil. So
And then you might, and then you cap it. You don't
We
have to
cap
do
it, and we're
anything.
done. So,
So I think
that
it's
may
less-
be the best use. We don't
It
know.
may be a-
Although, if you knew, for example, if you had information to suggest to you that capping with a parking lot was the only, real economic way to develop the lot, then you certainly don't
It
want to
could give
spend.
you more direction.
You don't want to be spending a lot of money marketing other possibilities if that's the only one that you really have that's viable.
Right.
I don't think I hope that's not the case. but-
Well, let's hope not. That's kind of a nice little entry into the city there,
Yeah, it's-
somewhat. And
it's not an easy answer either way.
yeah. Okay, Commissioner Neely.
That's a great question. Of course, you've got a lot of construction equipment stored down there at this point on the 12th and Washington property. Does that affect anybody's interest? They can look beyond that, I presume.
Yeah, it's with the minimal amount of time that's going to be on there, it's not going to affect the ground as far as contamination. Something like that has to be on the ground for a long time.
Oh, no, that wasn't my question.
Oh.
The ability to market it.
To market,
people
no,
can- people can look
that can
by
be
that.
easily explained. Yeah, temporary staging area. We understand that, no problem.
Along the same topic, we already decided that the 10th or the 10th in Maine is not a parking lot, right? Mm-hmm. Have you looked at it?
Not conforming.
There's there's tractors parked there. There's trucks parked there. There's cars parked there today. That whole lot's filled with cars still.
Staging area. Yeah.
So
Okay. What would you like from us here? Is that just information for us?
No, I'd
No.
like some direction on how to move
Okay.
forward, whether or
All
not
right.
to proceed with the contract.
Okay.
Can I make a comment? Just to play the other side of what Phil's argument was. If you wait until you get an offer in 5 years, the price of doing the investigation will probably double. So you'll be,
why would you suggest
I mean, I don't know.
And we've got the prime use of the money.
Yeah.
And you
But
may
the
never,
price of the
and you may
property
never
goes
need to
down.
spend it.
Yeah.
It may you may never have to spend it. So you're spending $10,000 that you may never have to spend, depending on what the ultimate purpose of the property is.
Right.
Seems to
And
me.
we don't know that. But
And a property owner, and I've done this,
Yes.
would not spend this money in the private sector. Typically, Graham, if you don't have to, you got $10,000 in your pocket, you keep it there until you have to spend it.
Typically, and I think the phase twos have a timeline associated with them too. So in other words, if we did one today, that's only good for a certain amount of time. So, I mean, the hard thing is we're trying to market all these possibilities, and we don't necessarily know that any of those possibilities are an option. So that's the hard part, is we're spending some resources doing that. And we're getting a little economy of scale because we're doing that with 12th and Main and 10th and Main. So it's not a major loss that 10th and Main is thrown in there. But maybe we might revisit that when if 12th and Main goes, then we might want to look at how much energy we're putting into marketing it.
Oh, so flip it. And if 12th and Main goes, then you have that checked out and then do 10th and Main at the same time? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying we're marketing something that we don't know what is possible at 10th and Main, but we're spending money marketing possibilities.
Right.
Right now, we're marketing that for 2 properties, so it's just one expense. But if 12th and Main goes, we might want to just take a look at
I think
marketing.
it might be helpful to take into account of what's already occurring downtown as far as increasing property values. So we've got some programs that are working to do that. They're very popular again. It's a downtown in transition. And what can't be done today on that property may be able to be accomplished tomorrow, given the values. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Commissioner Neely?
I kind of had one other question, if that's okay.
It would help if you put yourself in shoes.
Sorry. 12th and Main, the construction company that's there, are they paying us rent space for their stuff to be stored there? Okay, and that's coming into the urban renewal?
They are, but I'm not certain.
But I remember seeing something maybe 6 months ago.
Okay. Just to make sure it's coming into the urban renewal. That'd be good for us. Thank you.
Commissioner Neely?
We've made some kind of investment marketing, like others here have heard the radio's OPV ads and so forth. Is there a point at which that has become sufficiently expensive that you're just going to stop that kind of marketing?
Well, I carried that marketing through June. So that's done, and I'm looking at other marketing venues for this fiscal year.
Okay. What do we want to do?
I'm going to put a carousel there,
Carousel.
close to the railroad track.
Sure. Lots of kids running around the tracks in that intersection.
More noise.
You made it pedestrian friendly.
That's right.
That's right.
With the coffee?
Yeah,
With coffee. Oh.
Yes.
All right, so what's the pleasure of the board here for this?
Let's wait. Oh,
Okay, we need probably a motion to do that, or what?
I move we wait.
so how do we
Okay.
do this? Make a motion? Oh, we don't do that here, do we?
No. So you second.
Oh, I'll second it.
Okay, there you go. Okay. We've got a motion on the floor and a second. Is there a question?
And what is the motion stating?
I would suggest we just wait until we need to do it, until there's a buyer or until something else changes, like Graham suggested. Until something demands that we do it, let's not do it. I don't see any purpose in doing it now other than having a little information, which may not turn out to be useful.
Okay. Would you pull the board, please?
Commissioner Polly?
Aye.
Commissioner Mum?
This is a tough one, but I will go aye.
Commissioner Roth?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Neely?
Aye.
Commissioner Yates?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Chair Shaw?
All right. Thank you. All right. We shall now go to the consent agenda for the minutes of June 6th regular meeting.
To approve?
Okay?
Second?
All right. We don't need to poll on that, do we, huh? Okay? No, we have to poll on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Motion in a second.
yes, okay. So, any question on that? Poll the board, please.
Commissioner Polly? Commissioner Munn?
Aye.
Commissioner Roth?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Neely?
Right.
Commissioner Yates? Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Chair Shaw?
All right. Minutes of the June 20th regular meeting minutes, please. Move approval.
That was on the consent.
That was
That was
consent.
it, okay.
Yeah.
All right, city manager's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe you wanted to talk about the railroad depot buildings. So, Eric, do you have some?
So just an update on that. We've been working with the architect. We've been looking for interior drawings, schematics on that building, and have been unsuccessful in doing that. No one seems to have them on record. So we have had to go to an as-built service group. They were in there just before the 4th of July, and they were inspecting the building, taking notes, and they've drawn up some interior plans that I should have in my hands by next week. When I do have those, I will submit those to the architect that we've hired, who is going to draw up his demo plans and tenant improvement proposal. So that's where we are at this point.
Okay, so I guess my question is whether we spend the $30,000 I think that we have positioned for that.
Well, we had $30,000 last fiscal year, so
Yeah.
I've spent some of that
Okay.
on this because we started before July 1, and then we have $45,000 for this next fiscal year.
Okay. So the question is, do we spend money up front on the demo, or do we wait till we get a tenant like we're talking about, and then be part of the deal that maybe there's something there that the future tenant may like to keep, and
We have a tenant. So
What?
we have an interested tenant for that building. And so I've actually brought him in to meet with the architect to discuss future design for the inside of that building. They want the entire space.
What kind of tenant?
Oh,
It is it deals with bicycle tourism and bringing in groups from all over using the Amtrak station. And it's right along one of the cycling routes, and so it's a good business model.
Now, are we going to designate some area for Amtrak?
Yes, that's in the plan.
Okay.
So when you said the whole space,
Yeah,
where
you said-
he's not going to get the whole.
Yeah.
They're not going to get the whole,
Except for-
except
Yeah.
for, yeah.
I would say 90% of the space, 10% is
Okay.
going to be used for the Amtrak
All right.
patrons. So
Was the staging of the space, gutting it, part of the incentive to get them to rent? Or the interest?
I don't really know what sparked their interest. I think the fact that they're excited about starting a business and they love the location, and they just see that it works with their business model.
Is this an existing business? It's been in business for a while, or is
This
this
will be a new
startup?
business.
This is a startup.
So, of course, later we'll need to negotiate lease rates for that building. But right now, I just thought it'd be a good idea to bring them on board in the design process. We're not going to be customizing the inside of the building for this business. It's pretty much just going to be a blank improvement space where he can do his own customization to work for his business model. But that's going to have to be negotiated later as we get further into this. But right now, we're just trying to draw up the designs and get ready for demolition. So I'm expecting demolition to happen by the first part of September, hopefully the end of August. So
Good.
Is this demolition expenditure dependent in any way on this tenant, or is this something you were going to do regardless?
it's something we're going to do regardless. So we're basically...
And what's the cost of the demolition? I assume you're just taking out interior walls. Is that what you mean by demolition?
Yeah. So we're actually drawing up designs for that right now, how we're going to demo it and how we're going to take out the ceiling and where the support beams are and that sort of thing. So we have a contract with the architect to provide those services for us. We don't have a GC on board yet to actually do the work, so I don't have those estimates. I just have estimates for design.
we're not dealing with any hazardous material in that ceiling or anything, are we?
No, we're not.
again, it would seem to me that we should delay doing that until we have a viable tenant. So if this tenant is there and is ready to go and is a viable tenant with adequate capitalization and all that, then that makes sense to me. But as Brian suggested, we may end up with a tenant, if that one doesn't come through, that likes it the way it is, and we're spending money we don't need to spend. So I would suggest that we wait on spending money there until we identify a tenant. If the tenant you've identified already turns out to be a good one, that time frame makes sense. If it's not, I would suggest we wait.
This decision was already made for us to move forward on this.
Yeah.
We already decided on that.
I don't remember, Commissioner Yates, if you were you able to come to the tour that night of the?
I did not go to that tour.
Yeah, I think there was a pretty strong consensus that at least the existing, the way it looks now,
I haven't been in it, so I can't.
the conclusion was that nobody would
Yeah.
want to go in it.
Yeah.
So I think it was more like, well, we don't know what should go in there, but we know we need to start with a clean slate.
Yeah.
And it's pretty hot. Well, it's hard to describe actually how it looks.
1971.
Yeah,
Sort of a maze.
1971.
It's a maze.
Cubicles, sort of. Like,
I think there's 52 rooms in there right now.
Maybe it'll be a paintball.
I'd at least like to get rid of the rat traps.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
The only other thing I have, Mr. Chairman, under my report is that I believe the Commission is aware that U.S. Bank is, I guess, growing increasingly concerned about our line of credit. And so we have been, on behalf of the Commission, exploring different options through our Finance Department. Eric is continuing to work with Wyatt on those options, and we're going to explore some of them and see, just make sure that we're getting the best deal possible, and we're not sure that the U.S. Bank will want to continue to fund that line of credit. And so the negotiations that are ongoing in closed session regarding the Cove project, any DDAs that we have that come out of those negotiations will be contingent on that line of credit still being there, or a replacement line of credit that's satisfactory to the Commission.
Okay.
So I just want to let you know that we're working on that.
all right, thank you. All right.
That's all I have.
Future agenda items. Hearing. Oh, Commissioner Roth.
I'm
sorry.
quick. Okay, I've got a few, and one of them does address that Cove DDA. As far as I'm recalling, we never did extend that DDA. Is that correct?
We're negotiating right now. We don't have anything official.
Okay, I would like to revisit that whole thing because it seems to me that we're getting way out on a limb with them.
We're scheduled to bring it back to the Commission in executive session on the 1st.
1st of August? Okay. And then, and I don't know if this is possible at all, it's just a what-if question, expanding the urban renewal district to the mill site?
The mill site. That was in our work plan for a 3 to 6 year. It's kind of a mid-range. However, I think it's worth the discussion given the timeline of the Blue Heron due diligence process. I think we're looking at lining up funding sources as we move forward with the due diligence, and urban renewal seems to be a likely candidate for that. So that's something that would be worthy of discussion.
It is a major amendment.
It would be.
Pardon?
It would be
It
a
would be a major
significant
Right,
amendment.
and sometimes these things take a long time,
Right.
so.
It's probably in the charter.
No.
Do we have to take to a vote?
You would, because it's a
would.
major amendment.
So
I don't think urban renewal
No.
agency is in the charter.
But the size of it under state
it's
law.
ORS.
stay under state law,
ORS
it's not
457
Yeah.
says
Okay.
that anything over 1%. If you're expanding the district over 1%, it goes to a vote of the people.
Yeah.
So what is 1%?
Well, it's
Should we have a work session on it? Should it be a work
22
session?
acres is a lot.
It's about 850 acres now, or something like that. The district is, and this is 22 acres. So this is like roughly 2.5.
Can we do 8 and then 8?
If we do.
Go in there. Yeah.
And you get a little bit more in your 1% retention.
It's more than twice the minimum
Yeah.
Okay.
allowed by statute without a vote.
Well, I think that this.
I have one more question.
Oh, go ahead. Thank you.
Concordia,
Yes.
what's going on? Because I'm hearing from them that they are being offered multiple gems by many other places.
Well, given the change in the scope of the Cove property, it hasn't been pursued as of late because I guess there's been some contention with the Parker piece on the Cove. So I have not made contact with them as of recent.
I haven't heard from them either.
I haven't heard. I haven't.
No, we're not going to hear from them again. They're waiting for us to come up with a package.
Okay. So I guess due to the changes in the Cove project,
Well, they're
I'm just going
same property.
competing for the same properties.
I'm going to make a comment. I mean, if Concordia comes into the area as a university, they're tax exempt.
Yeah. No, they had a plan that it would not be tax exempt.
Well, that's not the way they've got their university in any other county.
No, this was going to be in development with GrowCo, and they would be leasing from not GrowCo. What's that other company they're with? Growth something.
Growth
Design.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't heard from Growth Design lately either. Byron tweeted, and I haven't heard from him in a while. But our understanding of this was that the commission was pursuing this the Cove project, and we were pressing ahead with trying to negotiate this thing, and that the opportunity you're talking about was sort of a plan B if this didn't work.
I was on the telephone on that one. I wasn't here, but I don't recall the commission making a decision. It was just a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe this discussion would be much more informed after some conclusions get worked out on the other project.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anything else for discussion here this evening? Did we get to future agenda items there?
That was
Are we
me.
okay there? That's you. Anything else? Okay.
City
Adjourned.
commissioners, I'm doing an executive